A very warm welcome to Mugdha Sinha to the first session on day 3 at the Kartist Festival on adopting sustainable solutions for a better future. Mugdha Sinha is a career civil servant with 20 years of wide ranging experience in governance, policy making, and international trade negotiations. She has worked in the ministries of textiles, industry, and commerce, both at the center and in a cadre state of Rajasthan, as also in food, public distribution, and consumer affairs, and science and technology. She is currently Secretary Art, Literature, Culture, Archaeology and Director General Jawahar Kala Kendra Jaipur in Government of Rajasthan. She is both an avid reader and a prolific writer, and she was the convener of the Speakers Forum in LSR, a tradition that continued with her getting elected as the Literary Secretary of the IS Association Rajasthan. We are really honored and privileged to have her this morning to a day 3 and looking forward to talking with her in this session. Welcome, ma'am.
Welcome, ma'am. Welcome to Kartis Festival. And as the topic, what we have selected this morning is why the need of adopting sustainable solution for a better India. So, as you know, everyone is concerned about and talking about the climate change, and we are aware that this is going to happen. And if we witness it in another 10 or 20 years, how to prevent it and how to take forward this. So, Kartis this year with the theme of sustainability has come up with the solutions, and artists across India are creating something to give the message, a strong message. We need to think about this. So we want to have your views about this, ma'am. Firstly,
Yeah, thank you very much, Himanshu, and my compliments to you and your entire team for running this Kartis festival consistently for the last 3 years, if I'm not wrong. I think
for you, ma'am. Now.
4 years now, fourth year this year. So congratulations and very nice because I saw your Instagram handle and found that you were doing a very nice workshop with artists and. I think also as the Secretary Art and Culture, I find that we have to work in partnership because we are stakeholders and the kind of work that you're doing is very interesting. Also, in my own personal capacity as an artist, I really recognize and commend the kind of work that you are doing. You have very rightly, identified the theme for this session, to talk about sustainable development for the future, because we will only have a future if we think of becoming a sustainable economy, designing policies, because people often blame population as the
One of the factors.
problem to yeah, as a problem to all kind of things that we are facing. But I think if I were to understand, I would say that more than population, it is a consumeristic mindset, it is a consumption economy which is leading to pressures on land, on nature, on everything. According to a study which has been done, it has been said that the earth can only hold 8 billion people, and from in the last 200 years we have moved from about 500 million people to about 7.5 billion people. And you can imagine the kind of impact that it would have on the economy, the kind of impact it will have on nature, on environment, on climate change, because we are leaving a not just footprints with our achievement, but also a lot of carbon print. So I think the need to recycle, upcycle, regrade, move back, start living a minimalistic lifestyle, designing policies in such a way that we can move back from consumerism to a circular economy in everything. Our approach to life, our mindset has to change. And I think in many ways, COVID 19 has brought that awakening to all of us, I think. So I think this is a little contribution. I mean, the kind of art that you are doing on stuff, I think is also a small kind of a nudge to society to think in that direction, the artist nudge, if I can say that.
Very true, ma'am, and rightly said. We have to stop consuming things, and it's not blame the population and start living a sustainable life and adopting sustainable life. As I come from an automobile industry, as a background of the automobile industry, and the concern what Curtis has is about bringing automobile and art together. So we have bring automobile leaders to this festival this year, and we, as the government of India, is trying to have the scrap policy in which they are trying to find ways to reduce carbon emission which is happening in the world. as is every year is a problem when the winter starts. It's how the leaf starts writing over. So do you think the is not relevant to but it's relevant to the subject what we are talking right now? Do you think scrapping cars in India will help reducing pollution?
See, let us see. I have to say something else. Let's look at the macro picture first. The entire concept of scrapping came from abroad because Scandinavian countries and developed countries, when they realized that they had to dispose of not just the hazardous waste, but a
Right.
whole lot of waste. Like in Alang in Gujarat, you have an entire industry called shipbreaking industry. Right, there are a lot of people employed. But when the West decided that because they were not in need of certain things and they did not want to dispose them off, and they were still far away from making policies for their sustainable disposal, because ultimately, where will things go? They will have to go back in nature. They decided that the developing countries may need some of those things. So that is how the scrap traveled from the
Very
developing.
rightly, very rightly said, ma'am.
And so I think we have to move from this mindset. We have to have policies. Even you see, in COVID, we are using so much of technology. Today, at whatever stage of development we are, we need some kind of hardware. The software has really progressed, but I'm given to understand through the various TED Talks that I have seen that there will be a time when you will not need hardware. You will just be able to imagine like a fifth D reality or a 7D reality where you won't need hardware. But we are still way away from those kind of revolutionary digital futuristic technologies. Of course, research is going on. So I think we have to evolve our own policy, and beginning at the micro level. See, we have only started doing segregation of garbage, and that also
Right.
has not become pan India. We have made small. So I think the units, which are individuals, will have to decide. There are a lot of companies which are now accepting hazardous e-waste in terms of old telephones, old laptops, old digital devices. I think we have to look at how we can, look at sustainable, because we are only looking at consumerism. We are
Ma'am,
not looking at disposal at all. So
very relevant.
scrap policy, and also, if you look in the textile industry, US started exporting. These charitable institutions started collecting a lot of old clothes and started selling them to countries which are not as developed. And today you have a problem of how do you discard old clothes. So I think for each item, because the policies have to be very, very specific for every item, because every item has a sustainable this thing. Today people started collecting glass bottles, but I'm told that glass bottles are, they degrade. They do not create so much of a hazardous waste as would plastic bottles, for instance. So
Yes.
depending on the material, I think a lot of work needs to be done, and that will only happen when people become awakened to the fact that we have too much of stuff and we need to travel light in life.
Wonderful, ma'am. We'll take this conversation forward, but as you mentioned about the painting of bottles, which is one of your hobbies and passion which you pursue. So we would like to know more about it, and we have a video also to show about
Yeah,
that.
you can see a few bottles in the corner. There are lots more at the back.
Yeah, yes, 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 ma'am. We can see a nice artworks also
You
around.
can see,
Oh,
yeah.
yes,
Okay, so there are
lovely.
lots of bottles at the back. So, actually, when I started painting, when I was posted in Delhi in Government of India, and I had some free time over the weekends,
Right.
I had this great urge to paint. So it began with painting windows in my house with stained glass. And then I decided that no, I need to do something on a daily basis, and I can't paint my house because it's a sarkari house. I have to hand it back in the form that I got. So I decided, that let's try whatever is lying in my house. So I had these bottles, these tomato sauce bottles. Of course, I've stopped eating artificial sauce now. But at that point in time, that's how it began. And I found that it was a very interesting medium, and I could recycle a whole lot of bottles. And then over the years, I did a little trade off with the Raddiwala, and I would give him my Raddi and ask him to get me interesting, nice shaped bottles.
Oh, that's very
Uh,
interesting.
so I think a lot of recycling happened in that sense, and my maid would wash those bottles and ready them for me, and I would sit and paint, and so that's how
And
it grew. And then it became a hobby. And at that point in time, I think some 8 years, 9 years back, I was not connected to many people who were doing bottle art. But today there is a huge community which does bottle art, and so I think that
it,
is also my little contribution of
uh, adopting sustainable solution.
and something which is discarded, making the best. And also it's a circular economy. I give my radhi wala gives me bottles, so it just the
Wonderful.
bottles sometimes become part of the gift economy. And so there is a lot of circulation happening, circulation with beauty, I guess, at times.
That's one. So, ma'am, you have bring that bottle as a canvas. So, what form of art you like to do it on it, or is it just a free solo you enjoy whatever comes to your mind? Or
Yeah, why I named my Instagram handle Bottle is Canvas is because I thought that bottle could also be a form of art.
right,
It is just your imagination, your perspective, and you can create art from anything.
right,
It all depends on how you see the world, how you see things. When I pick up a bottle, it all depends on my mood. It all depends on my frame for the day, and how much time I have, and what colors I would want to use on that day. So I think it's a pretty intermixed, and I do all sorts of work on bottle. I've tried a lot of, but I use acrylic colors for my bottles.
right, ma'am, right. So, should we play a small video which we have of your bottle collection, ma'am, if you allow us,
Want to do it now? Yeah, sure, anytime.
or we do it later, whatever you
Yeah,
say.
we could do it at the end, I think.
Right, we can do it at the end. So, ma'am, next question what I want to take is, like, you have used the technology in this COVID time
Mhm.
and start mapping in Rajasthan artists, musicians, galleries, monuments, and other things. So we would like to know more about that, how it is going and how you are taking it forward after this.
I'm so glad you asked that question, and even gladder because our initiative seems to have reached you.
Yes,
Uh,
ma'am.
I consider you and your team and everybody who's joined as the audience today as part of our stakeholder network. So thank you very much for becoming interested. And I see that you mentioned a few of the catchwords that we put in the form, which means that people have actually looked into the Google form and interested.
Yes, ma'am.
The
Sure.
basic idea when I joined this department about 5 months back was we were making a policy for the Artists Kalyan Kosh, which is Kalakar Kalyan Kosh, which the government wanted. And I realized that to be able to budget the kind of financial support that we'd like to give to our senior artists, and also to artists who unfortunately either have met with some accidents or are terminally ill and would need that kind of government patronage and support. And especially the COVID was an awakening in many ways because we realized that the artists wanted work with dignity and rather than a dole out. So the I when we asked my department if I needed a database, and there's so many art forms and new art forms with people's creativity and innovation emerge on a daily basis, I realized we didn't have anything consolidated. And that was that missing gap was an opportunity for me to design a Google form, because I think everybody is using technology, and COVID
Yes, ma'am.
also made technology acceptable. And also, I think we are in the sixth generation of public administration, because we are now moving from public private to public citizenry, public crowdsourced, public outsourced, and public voluntary network building, which is what. And as a civil servant, I feel obliged to be the bridge between the constitution and the citizenry. So as part of that initiative, I thought that we need to reach out to the people without any middlemen, no surveys, no government machinery getting involved. It's just you and us. You fill your own form, and you don't even have to write anything. You simply have to tick mark the columns and send it to us. It's as simple as that. If you don't know, and you can do it on the phone. And today, I think we have a huge mobile network. Everybody has
Very true. Very true, ma'am.
has a phone. And so I
And
thought, and a lot of people have taken interest in it, and we have got a huge number of people who have filled in. This will help us connect with people, understand their categories. We have done a lot of, division wise, district wise, age profile, gender profile, art form wise, institution wise. And I think all our policies, all our programs that we do can reach out to these people. And we have also after that initiated another drive called inviting proposals from artists for collaborating with us in various spaces, because a government's job is to provide a level playing field and platform for people. Our job is not to do
Right.
art. Our job is to enable art to happen in the space.
Very true.
So I think that is what we have tried to do with our various initiatives in the department.
Firstly, I would congratulate you, ma'am, for this wonderful initiative what you have started. And I know many of the artists across Rajasthan has started enrolling it into it, and will be given advantage in the future for this. Coming to the next, ma'am, as you are even the art and culture secretary to art and culture, so we would like to know, ma'am, how important museum plays a role for bringing these young children to understand the art and culture. Because as I give you, for me, I come from a middle class family, right? We were never taken to a museum till I was start restoring cars. When I see these artworks in the places like corporates and the business houses, homes, so where I get used to seeing art and acknowledge art and understand art about art, and started this initiative which starts helping the artists. So how important this museum plays a role, and this heritage property plays a role for younger generation to understand art and culture.
Yes, I think that's a very, very important question you have asked in this age and time. When I was a child, we used to all go out and play. And our best picnics were to monuments by my family. We didn't have so many museums at the time, but monuments had some museums. So going out to those, forts and palaces and stuff like that was a very regular activity. You make something, carry, or you will visit a monument, and then on the way back sit at a dhaba and eat a family meal and come back. That was a weekend activity, or summer holiday activity, or winter holiday activity. But in these age, ever since internet has taken over, children have stopped playing one. Also, there are certain aspects of safety going out because there's too much of traffic, there are other things. But apart from that, I think families are not taking their children out. And I'm people started going abroad, and that is how people started understanding, because abroad the activity is a lot of museums,
Right.
because India has a very rich cultural heritage where you have forts and palaces. Not every country in the world has that kind of a heritage, right?
Very true.
So their heritage is basically conserving and putting everything back, everything together in a museum. The Department of Art and Culture, Government of Rajasthan, has an entire directorate which is called the Directorate of Art, Archaeology, and Museums, right? So we have a huge number of museums, beginning from the Albert Museum in Jaipur. Then we have 48 other museums. You have museums in Ajmer. You have almost museums in every state, every district in the state. Smaller museums that you have. And I have had the opportunity to see some of the museums in Bundi. We had seen there was a Chitrushala. This had frescoes on
Right.
frescoes and murals. You have Shekhawati region, which is full of these kind of
Right.
tempera art. So I think because art is somewhere a soft media, and not much attention is given when you are parenting, when you are grooming your children. Art is considered to be a hobby. It is not considered to be a
Uh,
medium through which you gain exposure to the world, or you gain perspective in the world. As one of my artist friend has said, that art is something like water. You don't When you go to a party, you don't need water, but when you choke on something, you need water. And
Very
in
true.
COVID times, we realized that very beautifully said in a poem by a friend of mine, very dear friend of mine.
Yes.
So this is the value of art, and I think we should recognize it. Also, what we should do is, in all school we must do an exposure to art, so the children grow up understanding art. We have in schools a period devoted to art, but then everybody is made to do art, right?
Very true. Very true.
So you should be able to distinguish people. You should school trips, instead of going just to places, to take students to museums, not just to art museums, but also science museums for that matter. I
Yes,
think
ma'am. I was coming to that only. I was coming to that, but well,
exposure of any kind is important. And with digital technology today, I think with museums getting on board, a lot of content is getting created, and there are audio, visual, AR and VR means of bringing museums to your doorstep. I'm sure platforms have ticketed entries to museums. So I think
yes, ma'am.
virtual exposure is very, very important, physical or virtual, whatever. Some exposure to art forms as the child is growing is very, very important. It helps you shape your personality in times to come.
Very well said, ma'am. And now coming to the next question is again related to the art only, and this is comes to the public art now. Now, if you see, India is changing, and we see in every city something happening on the public walls or the public art. It can be seen now.
Yes.
And how you see, is it an opportunity for the artist, or it's an opportunity for the viewers to bring that respect for the art to the society? Because earlier you don't see that in India happening.
Yeah, no, it's mutual. And I would say that I would like to thank all the artists who've gone out, because graffiti, murals, public art installations. In fact, we were very lucky when I joined the department within 1 month of my joining on the 20th of August, when we launched the Design Conclave, which was inaugurated by the Honorable Chief Minister. We did a public art installation for our monuments, which doubled up with a message for COVID. We used a mask, one of the biggest masks on Albert Museum, as
Yes,
a public art installation, to tell people that it is just as it is important to protect us from the virus using a mask, it is equally important to protect our monuments from defacement, which happens. In Rajasthan, the
very
Public
true.
Defacement Act came out in 2005, and we still see people, when you go to monuments, you see somebody writes Vishal loves Vidya or something like that, on monuments. So I think we have to protect, there is also another kind of virus of people defacing the monuments, defacing even trees for that matter.
Right.
So I think public art is very, very important, and it's mutual. For artists, the artist may just do art for his own or her own satisfaction, right? The audience interaction with the audience helps the artist to grow, to understand how his art is being received, interpretation, because there is a huge difference in perspective at times, and artist also gains from it. The
Very true.
audience, of course, gains to benefit, because in cities which have now, we've right from the Vedic times, we have been cutting forests to make way for, from the Harappan times, making way for the agriculture-based sedentary societies, and now we are only cemented construction all around. So I think we are losing trees, and I think the only way to get back to remind people that there is beauty in our concrete jungles is to bring art in it. It gives a lot of sukha when you are traveling. In fact, in my tenure in Government of India, I was staying in Khan Market area, around Khan Market, and when you went to Meherchand Market or Khan Market, I would look at the kind of graffiti with which they had changed the
The
entire
whole area,
housing colony, and
Lodi Street.
yeah, the Lodi area. And it attracts a lot of tourists, and today nobody would have gone to that government
Right.
place. The market, the property prices rise up. Meherchand Market used to be just those some shanty and some shopping complex. Today it has one of the best fancy fashion stores and everything, only because somebody has
Put together that. Yes.
decided to beautify the place as an expression of their own interest. They have benefited so much. And initially, when this project began, they were all foreign artists who came and
Right.
did it. Even if you go to Jawahar Kala Kendra and you sit at the cafeteria upstairs, you see such a beautiful Krishan made. That image of Krishan made, it
Right.
becomes a photo, point for photo opportunity. Art provides so much of healing. I mean,
Right, ma'am.
it's
So,
beautiful.
so like that, ma'am, the reason I just asked you, because we initiated a project with the Jaipur Metro, right, in which we, during our festival time, we painted these metro walls, and one of the metro walls becomes the very famous selfie point where
Yeah.
people come and click their pictures. It's called We Love Jaipur.
Okay.
So that's connects. So that's the reason we were asking how important public art is to the people.
So it is very important. I didn't know. In fact, even the Gandhinagar railway
That is
station.
again done by us only, ma'am.
Okay, lovely. Thank you so much because I went around to Jaipur once in my vehicle only to click all the public art installation work that was done. I didn't know it was done by you. So thank you very much. You bring so much of beauty to Jaipur and
No,
try to
ma'am,
people,
is people like you who has helped us.
photographers delight also.
Yes,
Building
ma'am.
murals always catch people's attention. They increase the recall value. Uh, so many advantages. One
Yes,
can't
ma'am.
begin to number them.
And the advantage what I am having right now is you being an art and culture as well as into science technology. So ma'am, how you think is science helping art, or is science helping the technology helping us to achieve something, or is it a challenge for us to
Oh,
adopt adaptively?
no. See, I mean, we don't live in an exclusive society. We live in a very, very inclusive society. And there is no way we can segregate in life and say whether art benefits science or science benefits arts. These distinctions, distinctions in disciplines are very man-made. God only made nature, and we were part of nature, right? And we all cohabit the same space. Today we have started talking of multidisciplinary scheme, teams, only because we have done this segregation, right?
Very true.
We can't work in silos. We have to break the silos and fudge things together because what is the ultimate aim of our existence anywhere? To bring a solution to a problem, right? So art has a different way of doing it. Science has a different way of doing it. And if you look at design, the concept of design, you are in the automobile industry, and I can give you, when you sit and design the car, there will be a designer who will design the facade of the car. There will be an engineer who will decide what can fit into the
Fitted car.
component, the gadget. There will be a manufacturing team which will tell you that, okay, the designer's concept doesn't work because the part is rectangular, whereas this is triangular or something like that. Then there will be a marketing team, because if you make a product which is very good, it doesn't sell in the market, it doesn't make sense. So a marketing team will come and say, they'll say, no, we don't want this color because our people want something else. And ultimately there will be a promotion team which will say, okay, we don't want any design survey to be done, we don't have time for that, we'll do it in the next product. But ultimately it's the consumers, the users, right? Their feedback is very important. Is your product usable, right? Is it convenient to use? Is your mapping done properly? Are there signifiers? Is there affordance in the product? So this is all design. And it is very important to understand the 7 principles of design, because as a public servant, when I am designing policies, because my artists today, none of the stakeholders have complained and said, "Ki, ma'am, Google form was very difficult. We could not fill. We didn't like it. You missed out so much." So
Well,
everybody that I have interacted with has in fact reached out to me only because of the Google form, saying that, ma'am, if you permit, we can do a Hindi and we can send it to our artist. And for the first time, because we did a little pre-check with our customers, I became a customer, I tried to fill it myself. And whatever I missed out, I kept revising it till I found that everything possible, with the limitations of my own understanding and mind, were included in it. So I think interaction, iteration, all those things are very, very important for designing something for the public. The ease of the public, the feedback, good feedback of the public becomes very, very important for the product.
very, very rightly said, ma'am. The reason to ask you this was this to get the insight of the what is the importance of science and art together when it comes to it. So it
Using
gives
it's
a
coming together.
yeah.
And not just
Yeah.
art science, but also commerce. You have to sell what you make, no?
Yeah, this is one thing which artists always complains, and artists, young artists, especially with young artists, because they need the funds at that age, so
Mm.
they always struggles, because once you achieve it, you have money, you have support from the government sector and other. What support young artists needed? What should the young artists do for this commercial thing to come up?
I think, the oftentimes, this is my understanding, my personal thought process. Oftentimes, when people reach out to the government or when government makes a policy, we think it's only about doling out money. No. For young artists, I would say you have to connect the artists to the buyers. I have, in my own personal capacity, and before I became Secretary Art and Culture, because I have interest in art, I have attended a lot of kala melas, as they say, which are held
Yes, ma'am.
wherever I've been posted. And the only thing that I've heard, and I've spoken to artists, right? And I've asked them, how is it? Because, I always aspire that maybe someday I will, also display my own stuff and, be part of that stall. So let me also check with them. So in all my conversations, I found that, while there were a lot of people who came and saw, the artists were happy about that. But what we as institutions and governments need to do is bring the buyers, bring the connoisseurs who have the money to buy the art. Because the person who is surviving, whose livelihood is art, who's not doing it as a hobby like me, needs to sustain his livelihood because he's making art. He needs to get commissioned work, and that can only happen when you get high net worth individuals, when you get institutions which have the money, like, say, the hotel industry, for example, people who need to beautify their hotels. If they are brought, if invites are sent to them, if institutions are roped in, because there are a lot of institutions which are offering art residency, there are a lot of groups which are doing art as part of the gift economy, where they're saying, you give us food and you give us a place to stay, we will make art and leave that art behind for you to keep or to sell. So I think those kind of networkings is what we need to do, and policies need to be made on those kind of networkings, and that is what we need to understand. So, one, if the government buys this kind of idea, then we don't need to spend money. We just need to bring
Very true, ma'am.
column A and match them with the
With the
institutions, with scholarships, with fellowship opportunities, and tie them all together, because that will the job of the government is to connect the dots,
right,
not
ma'am.
just provide funds all the time. And
Right.
another thing I feel is that we end up providing funds to people who are successful. Failure or young people are often considered to be orphans. Only once they become successful, we co-opt them, and that's the point when they don't need, because everybody else is
Yes.
flocking to them. So we should be able to identify, like we do in sports. We should be able to identify people and know what are the international art festivals, propel people or send people. And today with digital technology, you don't even have to send anybody. They can just send their artworks, maybe
Mm,
pay a fee or something for entry into those contests.
very true.
That is something that we must do: identification, connecting the dots, two things.
Wonderful. So coming to the lighter note, ma'am, we again come to the thing, your
Mhm.
passion for books. The
Mhm.
next thing, so ma'am, we would like to know more about that. How you have been connected to the society of your IS academies coming together and having book sessions and talking about the different topics every weekend. So we would like to know more about that.
Yeah. So before I tell you about my work as the literary secretary of the IS Association, I think reading was something that has always been a very, very integral part of my family. And my mom used to read a lot, and what she read and what she recommended, we read. So when I was in standard 5 and she was doing her English MA in English literature, I mean, she would dole out her books and she will discuss with me, because I was the eldest in the family. And so I learned a lot from her. And then we bought one book, and everybody, then I read it, then my younger sister read it, and my youngest sister read it. And when we all grew up, when my sisters read anything, they, send those books to me. So the family grew up on reading books. And the best summer activity that we had was to read a lot of books, to buy books. And we grew up on a lot of Russian literature, for the simple reason that the books were very, very cheap. In $10 you could get 10 books, and you could spend your summer holiday reading all those kind of books. So that was a passion for book reading. And then in the last 5 or 6 years, I have a huge personal library of books. I mean, this entire room in which I'm sitting is full of books.
Lovely.
But in the last 2, 3 years, when I came across people who were doing a lot of book reviews and book reading and stuff like that, and I saw people who were actually making a note of the books they read in a year. Then I got hooked onto this thing that I must challenge myself, despite my busy schedule, to read very, very voraciously and seriously on a very, very consistent and regular basis. So I adopted this 52 books a year challenge for myself. And I've been doing it for the last 3 years now. And last year, of course, I managed to read 52 books. This year, I'm, of course,
Wonderful.
short. But I have an Instagram handle called Bookspeak, which is dedicated entirely to the kind of readings I do. I review the books, and I'm very happy that I was offered the opportunity of standing for the literary secretary of the IS Association, and we've been doing it for the last 2 years now. And we have done this year, I think we've done more than 20 plus book conversations and
Wonderful.
conversations, also because of COVID, on the Yash Dialogues, which is the year of awareness on science and health, on our Facebook page. We used to do these book author conversations in the physical space in the last 1.5 year, but ever since COVID we shifted to
Virtual
virtual
platform.
space. And we have huge number of people, and the recordings available for people to watch anytime. You just have to uh,
Yes, ma'am. The
go.
technology gives you advantage
Yes, absolutely.
to take
It's
this.
connected you also to very good people who read and suggest very good books, because country wise people are reading different kind of books which get published in their own country. So this beautiful country exchange also happens, which has enabled me to read very different kinds of books this year, about which I'm very, very grateful.
Wonderful, ma'am. So, ma'am, this 52 book challenge, we will also introduce this 52 book challenge or 52 artworks soon with our platform also, because the book reading is something which gives you knowledge and which gives the world an exposure how world is changing, and you get to know the history, present, past, future. So, ma'am, what books you recommend for this year for our young artists, young people, for
Uh,
adopting sustainability solutions?
there is one book which is currently lying on my table, and which I've just finished reading. It's called The
Design everything.
Everyday Things, Don Norman. This is one of my favorite books, and incidentally, it just happened to be here, so I mentioned.
Yes.
But to all people who are watching this, you can log on to my Instagram handle at the rate of Bookspeak 2020, and you will see that my readings of 2020 are all captured. I've read about, I think, 36 books now, a little short than what I did last year. But I do a lot of non-fiction. I don't read fiction much. I think I finished my quota of fiction in my childhood. And very rare fiction is what I read. But I love reading economics, history, literature per se, and also a lot of medical books related to medicine and technology, because I think big data, artificial intelligence, and because of COVID, I read a
Right.
lot on hormones and vitamins and stuff like that, because I thought in the spiritual world, you they say that get to know yourselves, because the world is Maya. But the first thing about getting to knowing ourselves is what happens in India is that the moment a child is born, you get a patri made, right, an astro chart, and you grow up on the astro chart literally. If you have to get married, you but nobody does a medical chart of with the bioinformatics and health informatics becoming very, very important. Everybody, when you grow up, you get a job, you start you have a CA, you start doing your income tax accounting and regularly, but nobody's bothered about their health till the symptoms grow. And in the
Right.
very latest book that I was reading called Lifespan by David A. Sinclair, it says you don't really have to age. Aging is a disease, it is not a fact of life. And you can live up to whatever age you want, and you can instead of curing disease, you can anticipate them simply by doing a DNA genome sequencing, because technologies have become so advanced in this age and time. So I think reading really, really changes your perspective, opens up a different
What do you?
world to you altogether. So much of research which comes written to you in layman language, in how the world will be in times to come. So I think it's a museum of a different kind of exposure. I think the world of books.
Coming to the ma'am, other passion of yours, which is again artistic poetry.
Mhm.
What do you want to say about that now? From where that comes to you?
That is also, I think, a subset of reading. And I think when we are in college, we are in that space that we all start expressing ourselves in poetic form. So with me also, it happened when I went to college and I was exposed to friends who were doing English literature. And when people asked you to write for magazines and stuff, poetry came easy at that point in time. Then you started reading a lot of other poets, and I caught up on a lot of my Hindi literature readings, which I had not done in school very recently in the last 4 or 5 years, and I realized that there was a whole sort of stuff that one needed to learn. And poetry, I think, comes easy to me. I have read at various poetry festivals, including the Valley of Birds, also done cafe poetry open mics for friends. I think I love that space. It's a very disciplined and structured space.
Yes, ma'am.
Poetry is also, it's almost like the brevity is the wit of the soul kind of a thing. In
Yes.
short, lyrical way, metaphorical way, let's say, you can convey what will be difficult or unpalatable in prose. So you can go the poetry way. वो जोर का झटका धीरे से लगे is
Very
what
good.
poetry can do. It's also maybe a little kind of a soft nudge for people who would like to take it in that way. So I think poetry is also passion. Any art form is passion for that.
Very true, ma'am. Very true. And ma'am, now coming to the very important thing, like festival like Cartes, JLF, and other poetry festival, what you were talking, where you visited, how important role they play to educate people and bringing to a platform, and as we bring you people to speak and give knowledge, how important these festival plays a role in.
Absolutely important. I mean, there is no iota of doubt that these are not important. See, these are all platforms, right? And I think more the merrier, because they one give opportunity to artists to come together. So what is happening is that the artists are meeting their fraternity who are doing different kind of work. Because everybody writes differently, everybody paints differently, everybody imagines differently, sees things differently. As Einstein said, that everybody develops their own frame of reference through their conditioning, parenting, and childhood experiences. So it's very important for artists also to have a community they can fall back on, talk, interact, learn, grow, because that is why you expose yourselves in the world to see who you are. The world is like a mirror for artists. The other thing is that apart from the artist getting to intermingle with the artist also gets to intermingle with the audience. A certain kind of validation, a positive validation of the kind of work that he is doing, of whether the kind of thought process with which he wrote or with which he painted or which he created something is making an impact, or is it reaching out to the masses? Is it creating some kind of a positive space? So that is what the artist look. And there is a whole, and I think Orhan Pamuk has written a book, The Sentimentalist and the Novelist, where he talks about this interaction between what a writer writes and how his works are read by the audience, and the difference, explaining the difference and why it is important for the interaction to take place. But I think also for the audience, it's very, very important because it's one of the cheapest mediums and a very, very quality medium of entertainment, of information, infotainment. It doesn't. It brings a lot of sukha. It art in a way heals. It exposes you to what is happening. It inspires you in many way. Sometimes one word in a book or one book can entirely change your life, as
Very
can art for that matter. So I think it's very, very inspirational and it's very important for the artists. And, there was a very nice movie called The Monuments Men, and there was a dialogue in that movie. It was about the World War II, in which It is they have imagined that Hitler wanted to steal all the artworks from France and England and store it and destroy it. So it says that, if you kill people, nothing much happens, in a way. I mean, I'm just quoting from the
Yes, yes.
unfortunate people get killed, but I'm not subscribing to that. But it's just saying as part of the movie. But if you kill the things that you create, that they create, like a Bamiyan Buddha getting destroyed, right? Then you actually end up killing civilization, because that entire chapter. What if Harappa was never discovered
Very
beneath
true.
the ruins? You would never have known that people lived, right? So if tomorrow something happens, and our memory of everything that we created, all the books that got burnt in Nalanda, for example, we don't know what happened in that era. So by destroying art, by destroying writings, by doing that, you actually efface an entire civilization as if they never existed. So that is how important art is, because it is the bedrock of our civilization, of our cultural heritage. Who are we? We don't matter. We are just cog in the wheel. I can't even remember my fourth generation of people who have gone. I can only remember till my grandfather, not even my great grandfather. My mom will know. But the fact that we have a legacy, we just being passed down. All our
Very true.
literature in India was oral, passed
Right.
down from Stuti and Smriti. People got it,
From the generation to
got
generation.
inspired to write it, then it happened in oral tradition, was learned it and passed it on. So that is how we are today, so proud of our civilization of so many years. So that is how important art is. No
Right.
construction, nothing will survive. Everything will get dilapidated and be replaced by something else. But art is what will tell people that we existed. Today you have the Nazca lines, which tells that something happened. Today you have the pyramids, which speak of things. You have the
Things.
Nile River. Today you have Saraswati. Uh, it is because of the fact that there was something written about Saraswati in our Rig Veda that people know that there is a river beneath, which has disappeared. Right?
Very, very rightly said, ma'am, and very, very correctly said that we have to. We could not keep our remember our next generation till the grandfather or our great grandfather. This is the last we remember, and it is only the civilization and the uh, stories of the civilization which has to be preserved and taken forward. Ma'am, coming to the closer of the session, the one last advice, again, because the subject is about adopting sustainable solution, what would be that?
See, I can only speak people to people, and I can only speak if I have practiced that myself. So I will offer one solution, which is very, very simple. Every year, since we are also approaching the new year and we all end up making new year resolutions, and I'm making a new year resolution this year, and that I will try and look at everything that I have in my life in terms of the things that I possess, and see if I can declutter anything. COVID has been such a nice blessing in disguise that I did not, because we were constrained, I have not really purchased anything in the last 9 months except for basic ration, and yes, books, because that is what kept me
Yeah,
alive. And I have been so happy that I have not added to the so many things that I have in my life. In fact, very conscientiously, over the last 10 or 12 years, because the adversity is that I have a transferable job, and every time you get transferred, you had to undergo this whole arduous task of packing. One realized that one should not invest in anything, and today I am looking forward to doing away with the kind of stuff that I have. So my only very humble solution is that if you have not used anything in the last 1 year, and if it can be given away, please do that. Please, the only way to make your life simple is to declutter the things in your life. And it also goes for people, it also goes for everything. Just make it light, and just also invest in your spiritual side in life, because Nothing else matters. Focus on yourself, because that is what is most important. You are here in the world, it is your life's journey. So pay attention on your life's journey, because you have come alone, you will go alone. You might have lived with 20,000 people in this life, but none of them are accompanying you. And COVID has proven that we have not been able to attend even people's funerals we have lost. So I think that is an awakening that we must understand. So look at your everything that is connected, not just your balance sheets, not just your janam patris, but also look and invest in your quality of life, so that you do not become a burden on anybody at whatever age. And remember that age is just a number. You can, if you live properly, you can kind of live forever.
Wonderful said, ma'am, and very motivational Sunday we had with the first session. And now we would like to see your artworks with that video to conclude this session.
Sure.
Can we have the video, please? It was lovely having you here at the festival, and thank you so much for sparing time for the Kartis Festival and giving the insight about art and culture and how science is also helping and taking this forward journey.
Thank you, Himanshu. Thank you very much. And to your entire team of Kartis, thank you very much for having me here today at your platform. And to all the lovely audiences who joined us, thank you very much for sparing your lovely Sunday today with us. And I hope you enjoyed the art. And I hope art will inspire you to do all the good that is required in this world. And many compliments to you, Himanshu, for this lovely festival. Hope to remain engaged with your.
Thank you so very much, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.